all this beautiful potting soil. But the earthworms and the microbes aren't going to eat it. It's already eaten. There's nothing there. Well, there might be plant food in there. Sure not going to attract them.
Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California. Beautiful day. We've had some rain, and all in all looks good. I decided to bring out my mic because today I'm going to be really serious and I have reporting to do. No, I'm goofing off right now. Let me sit down because there is a topic I'm going to talk about that I really haven't heard talked about in the manner of which I want to discuss it. Now, I want to keep this as short as possible because I want everybody to watch this and I want you to get your brains churning, no matter how old you are, how young you are, and think about things. It might be a goofy thing. It might be something you would think, oh, she's crazy. But you know what? I want you to think about things. You go to the store and you buy potting soil. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. I buy potting soil. I plant my seedlings in it. I sometimes put a small layer on the top of all my totes that I've got here. You know, I might fill them up with matter all the way up. And then on the top, depending on the plant, I might put some potting soil. But remember, on the bottom of my totes, my buckets, my flower pots, even in the ground, you can dig a hole and throw all that matter in there. I sometimes put potting soil on the top. If I don't use potting soil, then what I do is I grab some soil that's already broken down from one of my other totes from last year and use that instead of potting soil. This is really what I want to talk about. Potting soil versus you and me adding something to it. What's the difference between that? Let's say I take this tote and I fill it up with the best potting soil you can buy. Probably cost me $30, $40, 18-gallon tote. I'm talking about the best. Could even be a little bit more. Then I take the next tote and I'm going to put in my branches and my kitchen scraps and paper and leaves and dead plants and brown plants and all that stuff. And then I put a little bit of potting soil. This one that costs me, let's say $40, this one will cost me $2. And guess what will grow better? It's hard to say. The best potting soil might do just as good as this. Some of the cheaper ones, I don't know. A lot of potting soil you buy already has plant food in it. So that's why it will say good for 6 months, good for 3 months. It actually will have a time frame on it because there's plant food in it. Now the one that I'm making has no plant food. There's no plant food in it. It's unless I put a little bit of potting soil that I bought that may have it. Otherwise, there's no plant food in it. If I grab it from another tote, there's no generic, man-made plant food in it. Okay, earthworms. There's a question so many of you ask me. How did the earthworms come to your tote? Maybe you should ask me, why do they come to my totes? Not how, because how? Night crawlers, they crawl up. You come out at night, you'll see them going up the walls. They'll go up the legs of chairs. They'll go up plastic pots because they slime all the way up and go all the way down. Or if they find holes underneath, they may come up and go into a hole, like a little drill. They drill their way in. It's already got a hole, of course. Ask me why I get earthworms in my pots. Why do I get earthworms in my pots and my totes? Why do they come even underneath? Though they will come to almost any pot that's on the ground. Why? Don't ask me how, ask me why. Visualize this. You're going to go to the most expensive, most beautiful restaurant in town. You can't wait to go. It's something everybody's talked about and you want to go. You go into the restaurant and you sit down. They bring you a beautiful dish. It's gorgeous. And the silverware is just beautiful. Oh, just beautiful. Beautiful napkin, cloth. And you look and then they bring you a glass. And they fill it up with water. Okay, where's the rest of it? Oh, that's it. It's the ambiance you came for. It's the look you came for. It's the atmosphere you came for. What about the food? Tell me something. Would you go back to that restaurant? whether they charged you or not. Maybe if it was free, you would go out there just to hang out and text a little bit or something. But would you go there for that $50 meal? I wouldn't. I'd walk out and scream for my money back. That is potting soil. That is potting soil that you buy. It's all done. There's nothing there. It's all done. So if earthworms get into straight potting soil, what is there for them to eat? Oh, but it's got worm castings in it. I've already threw that in because somebody's going to say that. That's right. It's got all the worm poo in there and everything that was broken down. It's got the vitamins in there for your plants that's been put in there. It's got everything in there, but all you're going to add is water. Now, you go into a restaurant, dishes are all right, silverware's all right, but they bring you a salad and dressing, and if you're not a vegetarian, a big steak or a veggie burger with a big bun and lettuce and the best toppings and french fries if you eat that, and a soda or coffee or goodness knows what else. You get this big meal. It's $10. Tell me which one you're going to go back to. When I fill up my totes with leaf matter, sticks, anything, grass, kitchen scraps, eggshells, anything that you found in the fridge that was rotten and moldy and you couldn't remember what in the world it was, that is food for your microbes, earthworms. They're all going to run to that. They're not going to run to a tote that just has straight potting soil that's already completely broke down, already did its job for you, and all you're ready to do is grow it. They're going to run and find the one that is loaded with matter in there. Loaded! Think about it. That's what they're going for. And then while they're going into your tote, container, flower pot, bucket, whatever you're growing in, raised bed, you can do the same thing. They're going to hang around. They're going to find a boyfriend or girlfriend. They're going to find all kinds of friends. They're going to breed. They're going to reproduce. You're going to end up with a whole bunch of baby earthworms all over the place because, well, it's the best place in town, isn't it? It is their new town. The one that's got everything in there is set up. It's got their grocery stores, their restaurants, their theaters, their gyms. It's got everything in the world. And the other one has got an empty apartment. I think you know what I'm trying to say. When I set up, they've got their leaf matter in there, which is your nitrogen. And this is good for the plants and good for your earthworms. All kinds of stuff. Here I've got some, a collard, some broccoli. They've got that. Then they've got their carbon. You need both. You need green and brown. Now the green could be leaf matter that is still yellow and going and almost brown. That is your nitrogen. And then you've got your carbon. Okay? So you've got your nitrogen and your carbon in one. That's what they need. And then you've got a worm house, basically. They come in there and they've got everything they need. The microbes just go to town on that. The earthworms go to town on that. This is what they need. This is why I'm so big on nature, because that's the way nature does it. If you walk around and look around, nobody, unless it's somebody's backyard, is filtering everything out and putting down what they want. Nature grows the leaves on the trees and drops the leaves. These things would just grow, drop, grow more, drop more, and as soon as you start to get a layer, this turns into soil because the insects, the microbes, are everything is in there. All that stuff is in there and it's going to eat it. But if it's already eaten, there won't be too much to eat. That's why I get earthworms. That's why all of these are absolutely packed with earthworms. That's why when I lift up a tote or lift up a flower pot that I put stuff in, it's loaded underneath and inside with earthworms. The earthworms are finding their way to it because they get in there, and it doesn't matter if it's just a few getting in there or a lot because they're going to reproduce once they get in there. That's what's going on. So don't ask me, How do the earthworms get in there? How do they find my pots on the ground that are sitting there, oh, full of earthworms underneath? How do they find them? It's why do they find them? Because it's the best place in town to eat. It's the best place to hang out, set up a family, set up their home, and just live in it. And if they're not happy, earthworms will leave. Ask the worm farmers, the big ones. They'll leave. They literally will crawl out and leave. These are just fighting to get in. They're fighting to get in because they use a lot of nature around. If you don't have it, ask a friend to bring you a bag of leaves. Hey, what do you want for your birthday? Bring me some leaves and branches, and hey, cut it up for me. It's my birthday. They don't have to bring you big pieces. Let them cut it up a little bit for you. I mean, if somebody asks you, or take a walk and pick up the stuff on the ground, take a bag with you. I mean, people think you're crazy, but you know, nowadays nobody cares. Go around and pick up stuff on the ground. Bring all this stuff home. This stuff will turn into your soil. And not only does it turn into your soil, but it feeds your earthworms. And if you don't have a lot of earthworms, you will have microbes. They will get in there and naturally break it down. That will find its way in there because it's basically everywhere, and it will start to break it down. And as far as earthworms, you can buy them to start, or you can look under anything. Look under a rock. That sounds weird. Look under a rock. Any place that you've got soil and the soil is damp, underneath you will find earthworms. And if you don't, and you might have thought you saw one, take a little shovel, dig it up, take that dirt home, because there's a very good chance there's eggs or something there, and then just toss it in your tote. But it's not how they find their way in, it's why they find their way in. They go along all the totes and they find their way in. I don't have to go looking for them, even though I know where they are. They're everywhere. We probably have more earthworms here now than we ever did. 10 years ago, there was probably almost nothing if there's nothing to eat. They're not going to hang around, they're not going to reproduce, they're not going to be here. They'll be under the trees and under the plants. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, is think about it. There's nothing wrong with potting soil. It's very good, but the potting soil is already broke down. There's nothing there to feed the earthworms. If they come in there, they'll leave. Now with potting soil, you can take leaf matter in your totes, in your buckets, in your raised bed, dig a hole, drop leaf matter in there, kitchen scraps, cover the hole back, so now it's inside. And if you've got dogs or something, use a flower pot or a bucket or something and put it on top. I have all different videos on that. It's basically like a 2-layer system in a way. And what you're going to do is leave it there, and the microbes will start and the earthworms will find their way in. And if you've got even 1 or 2 earthworms in there, the place will be loaded soon, as long as you feed them. This is their food. Paper's their food. Paper was once a tree. They eat that. It breaks down. The microbes start breaking it down, and they eat the rest of that. All that is their food. And let me tell you something. You start to grow 1 plant, you've got 1 leaf, that's your food. That's a start. 1 leaf, 1 little piece is a start. This could bring an earthworm over nothing in there. This could feed an earthworm over just potting soil and nothing in there. So that's what I want to talk about today, because I think a lot of us are missing the fact that when you buy everything ready, you're not going to bring it. That's why people buy potting soil and buy earthworms and put them in there, and they continue to go buy more and keep putting earthworms in there. Well, sometimes I hear that they're buying so many earthworms. The problem is they're putting earthworms in there, in their potting soil. And what's happening is they're leaving. If there's nothing to eat, what are they going to stay around for? They're not going to stick around. They're going to, you know what they're going to do? They're going to crawl out of the containers, wherever they were put, and they're going to go take off. Kind of like people coming home with ladybugs. Whoa, look at the ladybugs. They went to my neighbors. Maybe you didn't have the insects they wanted. Maybe it was the wrong time of the day. Who knows? But if you've got something for them to eat, then they will stay. Food and water. I always say water is life. Food is next. They need food. And without that food, well, you're just not going to have the earthworms that you want. So don't worry too much about all that. Just make sure, not how they go in there, but why they go in there. And I think when you start looking around, just stop and look around at nature. It's absolutely wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I've had so many people over the years say, you can't do that. I was told I can't grow in breaking down matter. It won't work. I've been told all my life on so many things that won't work, and believe you me, it works. Yeah, you can't grow in composting matter. How can you not grow in composting matter when I'm trying to compost and throw kitchen scraps out there and things are growing in it before I put soil? Last year and the year before, there were totes out there that I was dumping kitchen scraps, leaves, and before I even got to put any soil in there, the earthworms got in there, everything got in there, and plants were growing. I never even put a speck of soil in there because Mother Nature makes her own, or he. That's what I want you to remember. Give your plants something that's going to benefit them, and that means some nice leaves. Shove it on the side of your container and forget about it. Push it in, cover it, and forget about it. And I think you'll be surprised how well this works. Okay, I think I've talked too long. So with that, have a wonderful day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye. Oh no, 17 minutes. What is it? 5.